What is going on, everybody? My name is Dakota and welcome back to Cologne. Today we're going to be looking at and reviewing Alghabra's Eye of Seven Hills. Let's get into it. So I know for most of us out there, we are looking into spring and summer fragrances, and I'm gonna have to just put a little pause on that real quick because I got my hands on this thing right here. So this is Eye of Seven Hills. This is not a fragrance that I was very familiar with, if I'm being honest. I'd never even really heard of it. I had a buddy of mine at work. I don't know how he heard of it, but he wound up with a little sample of it, and he wore it to work one day. I caught a little whiff of it, and I was just like, bro, what is that? I got to know. That smells heavenly. He was kind enough to let me borrow his bottle, and I got to wear it once or twice and just absolutely fell in love. And from that moment on, I knew that it was a fragrance that I was gonna need. Well, given the fragrance collection and everything else, I went the partial route. I was able to find a partial of this online. And even though, like I said, we're supposed to be looking at spring and summer fragrances, we're gonna have to take a step back. We got to talk about this one a little bit because this fragrance is wonderful. But we're going to switch up how we do things just a little bit today. We're actually going to go over the presentation for this one first, because this is one of those fragrances that is such a complete fragrance, package, smell, everything, that I kind of want to touch on all of them. So first things first, we're going to go ahead and get into looking at this bottle, the absolute beautiful artwork that goes into this. I'm going to set this down right here. And now we're going to look at the box and presentation for this a little bit. It's not every day that I kind of want to go over something like this, but this fragrance being such like a top quality thing, I kind of feel the need to. So of course, we just have absolutely beautiful artwork on the front. On the back, we have Eye of Seven Hill, little breakdown, kind of how it goes. But the nice part is you pull this off and you're left with a wonderful little coffinette. You get a picture of kind of what's on the front, and it's also a little bit of like a postcard almost. So for me, I love it when companies do this. I love it when they go the extra mile to kind of see where some of the money's spent as well. And then of course you got the coffinette, and then they give you this. I thought this was super cool. This is basically a breakdown of all the fragrances. Work with me. This is basically a breakdown of all the fragrances in their collection. It kind of goes over everything that they have. And to me, it's little details like this that I just kind of nerd out on, if I'm being honest. I love it when companies do stuff like this. When you have companies like Nichane, when you have companies like Xerjoff, even Day 3 fragrances, companies like that, that kind of go the extra mile to make it really feel like you're getting not just a fragrance, but an entire presentation to go along with it. And, you know, for some people, they're not going to care about that at all. But for me personally, it is something I kind of nerd out on a little bit. So I just kind of wanted to touch on that before we got into the fragrance. That way I could, I guess, go ahead and get it out of the way. And by all means, if you don't want to watch the presentation part, I'll put a little link in the video and you can skip to where the video is actually going to start. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and put this down, go ahead and grab the fragrance back. And now we are going to dive into the fragrance. So we are going to start off the way we like to, and that is going to be showing off the atomizer. And the atomizer is very pressurized. It has a wonderful center burst. But now we're going to talk about is what you get when this fragrance gets into the air, and when this fragrance is in the air. It is absolutely amazing. This fragrance is going to be one of them that easily worked its way into one of my favorites in my whole collection. In the air, you get a heavy dose of saffron. You get some tobacco, you get some whiskey. And then mixed in with that is you get a little bit of sweetness. Now the sweetness to me could be a little bit of a mix up. The notes on this, it's going to have like vanilla, benzoin, and stuff like that, but I don't really get that. I don't really get like a vanilla. I get almost like a juniper sweetness, or I get like a form of like a berry kind of sweet. I get something that's going to be very reminiscent of almost like a fruit flavored sweetness, and mixed with tobacco, mixed with whiskey, some of the warm wood you get off this. It is just absolutely amazing. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and go over some of the notes of this real quick. So the top notes on this are going to be saffron, cinnamon, and nutmeg. And like I said, on the top, you get a heavy dose of that saffron. I absolutely love the way it comes across. The cinnamon and the nutmeg are very light. They're more so in the background, but the subtleness of it is just going to make the opening of this smell even better. The middle notes on this are going to be whiskey, vanilla, tobacco, benzoin, tonka, orris, and patchouli. And like I said, the main thing that I get off this all the way through the fragrance is going to be wonderful doses of tobacco, whiskey, some of the orris, some of the benzoin. This is going to be one of those fragrances that I'm mad I didn't buy 6 months ago. The base notes dries down to this to an amber, an oud, a sandalwood, musk, and cedar. So on the base of this, there is a lot of wood. In the base of this, there is also oud. If you've hung around on the channel long enough, you'll know that I'm not the biggest fan of oud fragrances. A lot of times I feel like it is done up a little harshly. This one though, every time I've worn it, that oud comes across very soft. It's not harsh. To me, it feels like an incredibly complete blend. And the other thing that I absolutely love that they did is they actually gave us a full list of notes. They didn't give us the three, just a single top, middle, base. They didn't do any of that. And that's something that I really wish the companies would kind of get away from. Although I did read something the other day that kind of makes sense why companies may be heading that direction. According to the thing I read, it makes it harder to clone the fragrance if you kind of don't know what's in it. On one hand, I completely agree. I understand that. But on the other hand, a lot of people's going to clone off the smell of it, I feel like. So, So what we're going to hop into next is going to be the price, performance, and the availability. So the price of this is a little bit of a toss-up. Really, the only two places I saw that would be able to have this readily available was going to be Max Aroma and Joma Shop. Max Aroma, this was $109. Joma Shop, it was $130. So obviously, if you're going to order this, I would go the Joma Shop route. I do not think that your traditional retailer is going to have any clue, maybe even what this fragrance is. And as far as performance goes, that is where this thing genuinely knocked my socks off. The longevity on this for like active movement and just being able to pick it up, for me is like 11 to 12 hours. And as far as a skin scent goes, I literally put this on around noon before I went into work. And when I woke up the next morning at 6 a.m., I could still easily smell it on my skin. It wasn't something you had to search for. It was easily still there. So if you're combining the skin scent with activewear, this thing's like an 18 to 20 hour fragrance on my skin. It's one of the only ones I've ever had that actually did that. I don't know why this thing reminisced on my skin so well, but it was absolutely amazing. The sillage on this is a little bit weak, if I'm being honest. It was only like a 2-foot sillage. This one sets incredibly close to the skin, and the projection did set close to the skin as well. This scent, kind of being of a heavier nature, it does float up more than out. Now, if you're at a job where you're up and moving around a lot, if you're at a job where you walk a lot, this is going to have a really good sillage. It is going to float around everywhere. But if you're more stationary, that part of the performance on this may be a little bit lackluster. Alrighty, so now we're going to talk about my favorite part of this fragrance, and that is going to be the dry down. The dry down on this takes about 45 minutes to an hour to get to, all the way into that like true dry down. And when this fragrance dries down, it gets so good. This thing gets warm. It keeps a lot of that tobacco. It keeps undertones of whiskey. It stays very sweet. A lot of that benzoin pulls a little bit of a mineral vibe out of it. And the biggest thing that I love the most is, like, as we were talking about the oud earlier, the oud comes across very subtle, but mixed with some of the cedar and sandalwood in this, you wind up with a very woody fragrance that is going to be just whiskey sweet, paired with a lot of tobacco that has powdery undertones that is almost going to make it smell like one of the lightest, heaviest, contradicting fragrances that you could have. The way this hits your senses is going to be very subtle. That's where some of that lightness comes from. It's not just going to knock somebody in the face as far as with the scent profile, but the fragrance is heavy enough that once they do kind of get that whiff of it, once it kind of hits their senses, it'll stay there, it'll linger, and it won't really go away. And that is the thing that I absolutely love the most about that. When you wear this, you're going to be wrapped up in a whiskey sweet tobacco style fragrance that's going to be very warm. It's going to be inviting. This thing would be an awesome evening fragrance. This is going to be one that I'm probably just going to wear around the house, if I'm being honest. The profile that this thing produced, I just absolutely loved. Like I said, I'm mad that I did not get this fragrance sooner. I'm mad I didn't hear about this brand sooner. I'm probably going to go ahead and order a discovery set, just kind of check them out and see what they got going on. Because if the rest of their fragrances are reminiscent to this one, it's probably going to be a knockout. And for all I know, maybe this might be the only good one in the collection. Who knows? But I will say, for the quality that you get, to the profile that you get, picking this up off Joma for 130 bucks, I feel like that is a steal of a deal for everything you get out of this fragrance. It's not every day that I smelled one that I immediately was like, no, I have to get that now. With the collection that I have, with a lot of the fragrances I have, it's rare that one will hit me that hard. But I did want to touch on something real quick. There is one thing in the base of this that I pick up that it might be tricking my senses a little bit. I feel like there's an incense note in this somewhere. I get a wonderful smokiness coming off as it dries. The further into the dry down, the more it gets like a little bit of like a background of a smokiness. And to me, I feel like that's one of the things that just really pulls this fragrance together. And to me, just kind of pushed it over the top. The only thing is, this fragrance does remind me eerily similar of one other fragrance that I have in my collection. And it's actually going to be my Sphinx signature. The first time I smelled this, there was something I was like, man, there's something there. I don't know what it is. And I literally went digging through the cabinets and I finally found it. So I think one thing that they share is going to be some of the woods and some of the tobacco. I think they used an eerily similar tobacco note because I feel like that's what I'm kind of connecting the pieces there with. This one being much more fruity on the opening, this one being a little sweeter on the opening. I definitely prefer this one just a little bit more, and I like Sphinx fragrances. The two that I have, I genuinely love. But this one right here, if I had to compare it, just kind of sets it above the rest. This one is almost an immediate top 10 fragrance in my collection. And when I started recording this video, my intent was not just to glaze this fragrance, but that's kind of what's happening. And if you've ever tried Ive 7 Hill, let me know in the comments because I genuinely want to know what y'all think about this fragrance. To me, this is one that I'm going to probably end up buying a second bottle of because like I said, I bought this one as a partial just to try it, just to wear it extra. Sometimes you got to wear a fragrance 5 or 6 times to genuinely see if it's one you want to have. Some of my fragrances, I will admit, are redundant. This one is not. There's one that smells eerily similar to it, and that's it. I don't really have anything else that smells exactly like this. And that could be part of the reason why I love it as well, is because it does set itself apart just a little bit more. But if you're someone who loves warm, ambery, tobacco, whiskey, sweet, touch of fruity with a good oud note that just floats all the way through the background, I highly recommend you try this one out. Get a sample of it first, because even if the $130 to $190 price range, that is a big swing, that's still a steep asking price for a fragrance that you're unsure of. Now, in my case, do I think the price is fair to this? Absolutely. For 130 bucks, I'm going to get another one. And if I had to give this fragrance a rating right now, you already know I'm going to give it a 10. If you've made it this far into the video, this fragrance to me is absolutely beautiful. The scent profile, I'm going to give it a 10, which is my personal rating. And the overall rating, I'm also going to give it a 10. Because like I said, for 130 bucks, to get the presentation you get, to get the quality you get, for this thick glass, for the atomizer, for the etchings, everything that went into this is just an absolute rock star of a price. This is a true niche feeling fragrance that has a lot of top tier qualities for a designer price at that point. But that is going to get us wrapped up on this fragrance. That's probably enough glazing for one day. I'm going to go ahead and get in on this fragrance one more time just to kind of show off that beautiful artwork. But as a friendly reminder, at 1,200 subs, we're going to be doing another giveaway. I'm going to be looking for about 2 or 3 different people. We're going to go ahead and do a build your own sampler kit for a few people, get some fragrance back, give back to the people that's been supporting this channel so much. It's a genuine thank you, and it's one of the only ways I know that I can actually give back to the people supporting me. But with that being said, that is going to be the wrap up on today's video. As always, thank you everyone for watching, for subscribing, for sticking around, staying tuned, giving feedback, listening to me yap about how stuff smells. I truly appreciate it. And to all my fragrance friends out there, we will see you next time.